I'm just setting up Facebook Live real quick here.
Okay, we can start now. Hi, I'm back. Got all my stuff set up. I'm moving spot because I just kind of changed the location. I had to grab my other stuff from there. Anyway, if you're ready, I'm ready now.
Okay, give 1 second and then we'll be ready to go just so that
Sure.
if anybody wants to join, they could still join. You can see so there's 1 or 2 people in the waiting room who are ready to join.
Mm-hmm.
There's Tim who's joining. So once he's on, then we'll start. Tim, are you in?
Looks like he is. He's just on mute.
Okay, all right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Career Goals and Success Workshop with JCI New York City. My name is Cal Chakalakonda, and I'm the Vice President of Community Development for JCI New York City. We are a chapter who is involved in doing many series of workshops. And today I want to introduce the speaker, Sam Tandon, to you. Just a brief introduction about him. He is a certified leader and an executive coach. He has he has expertise in career planning, goal setting, and time management, and giving lectures at high-profile universities. And he is also a founder of a publicly traded company. You can read more about him in our description of the event. So I will kind of hand over to him to take over.
Hi, everybody. Hope you had a good day today. All the working from home.
Yes,
I know
absolutely.
it's on mute, so I'm just kind of continuing, assuming that I'm having a dialogue here. So Cal has approached me earlier for getting this career workshop because this is, I think, the need of the hour nowadays. Everybody is in the transition, and also I think this timing is good because normally the hiring happens in the first quarter of the year when most of the companies come out of their budgets, and so this is a very crucial time. Now we have a couple of topics, I think, which you already must have seen on your sign up sheets when you did that. Was one of the thing was it's a resume. Talk of something about in a little bit of detail in that. The ATS system, how and what works. I'm not only talking about the ATS from the front end, from what you see, but from the other side, where the recruiter and the recruiting companies, how they do it and what they use it as, so that you get an idea. Because I've been on the other side, I've hired people, a lot of people. I also had an IT company before, so a partner in that. So I've gone through the whole process of being on the other side, and I can relate as to what sometimes when you apply, you don't get a reply from or there's no feedback. So what is the reason for that? From it just looks like a black hole, just putting in stuff and you don't get anything back. So more or less, a lot of people get frustrated at that. But if you understand how to navigate, if you understand the game, as they call it, a gaming kind of word now, so and then you'll be able to figure out and maneuver yourself better. So that is my little bit of a 2 or 3 steps. I'll explain it how. So let's go by the first point, which is clarity of job that you're searching for. Now, a lot of people, including my son, who just recently graduated as a mechanical engineer, So I'm just interested in getting any job. So he starts looking out that way. So I agree with him, but the mechanical engineer has got a broad category of people, of jobs description in there. If you have to kind of specify or be more thorough about what exactly is the specific title or the key search word that you're looking for. Now, he's done CAD/CAM engineering. He's done, in his internships and small jobs that he did before to finish his um, degree was, I'm just giving an example so that you can relate, somebody and how he thinks and how I was able to kind of explain to him. So from that angle, if you look at it, it's more like a person is going out there and saying, I'm an engineer, I want an engineering job. No, you have to be specific. Either it's a project management, either, if you have Six Sigma on your resume, use that, because Six Sigma falls into the project management category. Or if you've done some quality analysis or quality assurance, look for quality assurance kind of jobs. All of these also look into coming to the category. Logistics also nowadays a very hot environment where people are, jobs are in abundance and there's a shortage of people. Logistics, I'm talking about the supply chain, as they call it, Amazon and all these big warehouses nowadays, home delivery, if you want to put it in that category. So broadly speaking, if you're talking about logistics, if you're talking about CAD/CAM design, it's two different words. So you cannot say engineering and then go about looking at that. So either you have to search, and then your resume has to reflect those kind of skills which are more tuned to that particular subcategory vertical that you're looking at. So those keywords are very important in your search. Now, first you understand the clarity of the job, then you have to tweak your resume, because as a recruiter or as the company that is screening, or the ATS is just, ATS in the sense that we talk about ATS, you can call it applicant tracking system, recruiter system. That is a software system which any and everybody nowadays uses, from any person who is a 10-person company, employee company to thousands. They all, some sort of some form of ATS is being used behind. That is just a collection database. That's all it does. Just collects. Not going to actually do the interview for you, or it might help you in screening or doing the interview process, but it will not be selecting the person who is going to be actually interviewing or sorting out from 500 applications how to bring it narrowed down to 10 or 15. That's the idea. So that is just to give you clarity of the job title and the search. So if you're looking for engineer versus a specific job, you'll get better results. And then accordingly, you have to tune your resume for those particular, highlight those particular roles and responsibilities in a job. You might have done 2 or 3 responsibilities in a job in a previous, but if this particular requirement for the job is specifically for suppose Six Sigma, so just highlight those and make that a bigger paragraph, and other points you can put it on bullet points that I did these 2 or 3 other things too. That way the person who's screening it knows and doesn't have to kind of have a doubt in his mind or her mind as to what exactly, should I contact this person or not, or is it worth putting it in the pile of follow up or not. Okay, so that just gives you clarity about the job part that I was talking about earlier. Second is the resume purpose. What is the purpose of a resume? I've come across this a lot of times, and whenever I go to any leadership or any workshop that I talk about related to this career and all that, I normally ask the same. And a lot of people, since we don't have a mute system, I think there's a mute system here right now, I'm not expecting a reply back, but I'm just proposing a question. So what is it in your mind? What is the purpose of the resume? Just give it a thought for 1 second. I'll give you pause, and then I'll give my answer, so that think that you're replying back to me, in a way. And then if the answer matches, it's good. Okay. So the ultimate purpose of, or the first purpose and main purpose of resume is to just get you approved or through the gate. It's not getting you the job. It's not getting you anywhere. It is just the doorkeeper. When you go to, nowadays you have this POB cards and you swipe the card to get inside the door. That's all. That's the purpose of the resume. So in an applicant tracking system, now it's all automated, automatic. So there's nobody who's actually screening and telling you, okay, this person might be the one or the other person might be the one that we can talk to or not, whatever reason that they have for, as a human resources person. ATS will go by word match, by phrase match, by a lot of systems where, they'll be kind of doing, okay, this person has these 5 items that have been highlighted or put in that system. It'll kind of put it there, and it'll be collecting those things, just be a pile. It could be your, say, suppose, just to give an idea, it might be searching for a phrase, and if it finds that phrase in your resume, it'll be kind of, okay, highlighted as, okay, that is the person that, is shortlisted for screening. Then comes the screening, the backside where the recruiter comes in, or the person who's actually, shortlisting from that pile of 500 to 15 or 20. That's when the screening process happens. So just to answer, I'll talk to in more detail about that in the ATS slide that I have after this coming up. Why is it and what is it more important to address the resume according to that? Other thing is format style. Now this again relates to the way or the particular ATS that a company is following. If you're applying in a big company and they have an HR department which is separate and dedicated, normally 90% of the time they have their own customized ATS. So you can, Google, or I've worked with at least half a dozen ATS systems. One is iSIM, Zoho, and Bullhorn, Smart Recruiter, and they keep coming out with new ones, or some company buys them and merges and all that. So this will keep on happening. Now, in an ATS system, what you can program is a certain limited items and all that you're looking for, because the reason being, this is something that they pick up from all over the social media. So they cannot be very, very specific. Those are generic and keyword search terms that they put in there to identify and shortlist people, whether your qualification is enough or not, if they require for something. If it's not, you go into a second pile. That's how it is. For that, sometimes in an ATS system, now, if it is like, suppose a big big corporate or a public limited company, let's say General Motors, for an example, they have their own inbuilt or at least customized ATS system, or recruiter tracking system, as they call it, applicant tracking system, and they give different names inside. They would be actually having a box in there, and also an option to post your resume. So whenever you see a box that you can, cut, paste, and do that, try and do that, or follow or fill up their forms the way the ATS system is wanting. It might take a little bit of effort, because the way your dates, your degrees, your time, and the job clarification and titles, you might write down your designation and your name, or the position of the company, and different up and down. It could be, I can write my resume in 2-3 different styles. But if it is an ATS system, it will just recognize and pick up a certain, they have a kind of a link or a box that they pick up from. So if you put in the wrong information there in that box that's supposed to recognize a date or the year, or the something that you did that work previously in that company, it's going to give a mismatch. That's why I'm trying to tell you, if you write your own resume and rather just upload your resume, it might work, it might not work, because the ATS system has a fixed tracking where it recognizes certain things on this line, it has to pick up these lines. And if it has to pick up numbers, it'll ignore everything else. So that's why I'm saying, if it is possible to fill out the form that on the website of the company, if they have one, it is much better option to take. So that's about it. One size fits all for the format style? No, never. You have to kind of keep changing. Now, my wife is a scientist, and if she has to apply for a job, she has to write down almost like a research paper, a whole kind of lot of stuff and all that. It's not like a 1 or 2 page resume. Because if she's applying for a scientist job, they expect you to be uh, replying in a scientific manner. So if they have 5 bullet points or 5 points that they've raised, that have you got experience in this particular XYZ works that you have done, please show us. So what she has to do is, she has to take 1 point, make a paragraph or 1 page answer, and then quote it that my answer to this point is in this page. So you understand how detailed it is. Now that is on the extreme side, where she is relating and answering, so that the recruiter doesn't have to search through 50 papers to find out where the answer for that particular question is. So that is important. If it is in such a detail, I'm just going to the other extreme. Maybe you might say that these are one of the most stricter job application that they have to do. Who is screening? That is a very important key question, which people don't realize. Now, if you are applying and to a smaller medium company, it is normally somebody in that somebody who does part-time, or somebody who's has a little bit of knowledge about the job role and all that. That's fine inside the company. But if it is a company or a recruiting or staffing company that they have outsourced it, or a primary vendor you're applying through, those guys have hardly any clue as to what the technical requirements or the job description that they've written is. Anything that you've written for them, it is all Greek to them. The words written over here, they just do the word match. So they have no clue. So let's say if I'm just to give you an idea, I'm from an accounting background. You told me to hire somebody from a science, or maybe a rocket scientist. I have no clue how to interview him or what to look for. So all I'll do is I'll start matching the words that are written here and there. That's all. Whether those words are, making any meaning to me has no effect on the screening process in their minds. So get that idea first inside, that who and how it is being screened, so that it's more easier for you and not get frustrated on that down the line. It all kind of looks like, oh my God, this is such a difficult thing to get to. It's not, but it's just, sometimes you have to take that into account and match your resume according to those. So if they ask for certain skill sets, make sure that those skill sets are repeated, or they are, plenty of times when it is visible on the front page. Possibly the front page is better, because normally if they don't see anything on the front page, they normally just go back to the second page. And you might have heard all this, the recruiter only sees it for 30 seconds or 20 seconds and all that. It depends on the role and the position, how difficult or how easy it is. It's not always a 30-second or 10-second rule. If you only like 10 people are going to apply, it's such a difficult IT or some kind of related position, they don't have those skill sets available in the market. Cybersecurity, for example, is very hard nowadays. You don't get those candidates. So I'm not going to look at only 10 seconds. I'm going to look more for those, because I'll be having only 15 or 20 applicants entirely who might be available out there in the market. So that's, just to give you an idea. It's not kind of a standard thumb rule that only 10 or 15 seconds if people look at the resume. Other thing is, I'm not criticizing or blaming the HR department, but as I just explained to you, the HR doesn't know the actual role and responsibility in too much detail. They are office, which is another part of the building. They are sitting and doing their work. A project manager or a recruit, a person who wants to get the project done in XYZ company, he's somebody else. They're not having any particular direct connection and to clarify stuff. So a memo is sent from the department of the shop floor that this is the personal requirement I need for a project to be done. That goes out to the HR. The HR person then looks at it, tries to make it marketable. Now, this HR is normally a sales kind of category it comes into. They make it marketable. If they put in too much hard words and technical words, then people get. They know that they are going to have a difficulty in getting people to apply to it. So they make it a little bit more simpler. They just use the keywords and make it out. If I write a paragraph, they'll just make it into one line sentence and post it as a bullet point. Now, just to give you an example, why I'm saying this happened with us. We were prime vendors with the company that I was talking about earlier in the IT side. We were prime vendors with General Motors. Now, General Motors at that time was doing pretty good, and they had multiple operations going on in Canada and Mexico and other places. So we had got a project, and but in case even if they give us a project under our belt, we still need to get the person screened and get them interviewed and all that to actually place them on site. We were applying and we were sending, and normally had a one or like 50% or 60% ratio of approvals from whatever, because we knew what they wanted, and we were pretty much for many years we had been doing that for them. There was one position which was coming back to us every time, and not only to us, there were 4 other vendors that they approved of, prime vendors along with us. That position was never getting filled. So like we had to kind of reach back, and then I had to talk to the higher manager or their boss and all that. What's going on? Why is this position not getting? We are supplying so many candidates to you all. What is happening? Then one of my smart salesperson, he or she, I forgot now, long time, went and met the manager who actually had the department who was actually wanting the job to be done, or the specific role that he was going to. So actually, the actual person under whom he'll be working, or he or she'll be working, the person. That person said this job is in Mexico, and they need a person who can have dual language skills. Nowhere in the job description is it mentioned dual mention. Because duals, sometimes what happens, even the HR has discrimination laws that they have to follow, that you cannot discriminate and all that. So maybe there was a filter that the manager who actually wrote the memo or wants something was not able to get that conveyed, or the HR people censored it, as you might call it, that this, you cannot write this down, it's not, we'll be in trouble. So something happened there. Moment I learned that, the next day we submitted somebody with a dual skill, and boom, that position was empty for 6 months. Can you believe that, in a big corporate like that? And so you have to understand that it's not the HR's, maybe it's not their blame, but there are certain times when there's a gap between the communication process. So that's one of the key examples. If you can keep it in your mind, that what happens, you need to understand what exactly the role is, so to read in between the lines. So just the qualifications is not enough. You should go to requirements and see need versus good to have, is where the HR person can get away with good to have. It's not a disqualifier or qualifier, where they have the roles and responsibilities. Read the description below that too. There you'll get good to have these skills, good to have a person who's dual, bilingual. Then you realize, oh my God, that's what we were missing out. And if you have those good to have skills, you're on top of the pile, basically. Your priority gets much higher. Target setting, I think, the numbers game, as they call it earlier, just think yourself as being a pool or snooker player, as they call it. There is the ball has to go in either one of the 8 or 10, in 8 holes or 6 holes, whatever you want to call it, from different angles that you have, that you can see the ball where it is possible to go. You have to shoot and keep trying from different sides of the table. That's exactly what it is. It's a numbers game. You have to keep on different application, different styles, different ways to put it in there, and we just have to keep on hitting at it. There's no specific sweet formula like if I apply 50 that used to work in the olden days when we used to teach MBA classes and all that. I have learned under that scheme. You make 50 phone calls, you get 5, possible, probable people who will respond to you, and one of them will click. It doesn't work that way nowadays. Everybody's got that old, it's become old school now. So that's more or less, talking about the resume part. Uh, After the resume, what I would say is what I've seen results happening is thank you letter. The moment you have an interview done, you come back or you have it on the website. The next day, you normally write down the names of the interviewers, and if somehow you're able to, in the conversation, if you're smart enough or they're willing to give you the email address to follow up or something, I had a query, I want to follow up, something, some way you can get them, send them a thank you letter. That makes them remember you after the interview. So the 3 candidates or 5 candidates whom they shortlisted and interviewed, you are the one who will be actually thanking them, and it's like the number of times you're in front of the face, as they call it. So it'll be more remembrance for them. Okay, I talked to this guy. Nobody knows before hiring you how and what you actually going to perform. Resumes, more or less, out of 500 candidates, you have reached the top 5, which means everybody's got the same qualifications, more or less. So how else can you differentiate? You need to be a little bit more proactive in this. So that's how, maybe there was a question that they asked you about some issue or a problem, how you solve it. And you had a case study or you had a bigger example, you didn't have time to explain it to them in that particular interview. This you can write in the thank you letter. Don't make it too long. If it's a case study, of course, yeah, I'm sending an attachment, you can do all this and read this if you would, this is how I solved this problem. And don't make it more than 1 or 2 paragraphs. Short and sweet is good. It's just remembrance. Out of 5 people, hey, that guy I talked to, he was smart, but if you reply back, it'll register to them. Okay, I need to keep this in consideration. And the last part is follow up. Follow up again, either the email that you had sent earlier to the ID that you sent it to, XYZ or HR or anybody. After 1 week or 2 weeks, follow up. That's also puts you on top of their mind that, hey, this person is interested in the job. Okay, so I'll give it a break for a minute to go on to ATS. But in the meantime, if anybody has any questions, please go ahead.
Got a few questions. I'm not
Sure.
sure if anybody else has any that we could start with everybody else, and then I've compiled a list from.
Sure.
Okay, so I guess starting with the resume, and thank you, by the way, for a very concise list here. Had a couple specific questions. Some people say that even at the CEO level, a 1-page resume and no longer. Is that a hard and fast rule, or what do you think?
As I said, there's no particular fixed format, as I said, that this is the only way it works. I have used a 1-page and a maximum 2-pager throughout my life career. I've been doing consulting jobs in 1099 and all that. That happens in my career. It doesn't, absolve me from that angle of applying too. I've also applied in places. So But if it's a more detailed role, I don't think if a CEO would be, one pager would be, that CEO is well known. He doesn't need, I mean, if you look me up or, check me out on LinkedIn, then I don't need to redo my whole introduction again. So in that purpose, it might work. But definitely for executive positions and all that, for, as I said, my wife is a scientist, she's a senior person. She has to give a detailed resume. So it does work, yes. This is good for the person at the HR level to kind of look at it and from that they screen. So I don't think this HR person honestly would be the decider who hire a CEO. Right, it has to go to the next level. So it would be, I mean, there's nobody stopping you from, giving one-page resume. But if you want to highlight more of your achievements and more of your, skill sets and all that, you can make it a couple of pages, especially in IT, I have seen. IT resumes are not less than 10, 15 pages average.
Wow.
Yeah. So it starts from 5 pages to 10, 15, depending on the experience and all that. So we expect that if you're hiring an IT person, because he has to have those knowledge and the skills and all that, background about the person. I mean, you're paying him $150 an hour, 200. So, you expect something in return, right?
Right.
So, so that's why you need a little bit more detail in there.
Okay.
A quick question. Do you mind if I jump in real quick?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Hey, so one of the things that's super important is the ATS tracking, right? All these systems, and it's constantly changing. It would be interesting to just from Sam and just the group, if anyone's, experienced anything different, like when you start a resume and over time, there's additional characters and additional things that get injected into your resume, right? Depending on how you're formatting and copying, pasting. So that's something that I always find to be, oh, you have a slide on it here. Got it. Always finds to be interesting because you could be applying for, 50 jobs and you're using a resume that's not the right format. So
I totally agree with that, Tim.
I'm sorry.
I agree with that, Tim.
Yeah.
And I think I explained earlier too that, if possible, if they have their own, a box where they say you can write down or cut paste your stuff here, do that. I have seen in details, at least in General Motors and all that. I remember that they had, like, you had to put in individually the year you worked in, the title you worked in different boxes. So that is the best way to put it, rather than putting your own resume as a as an attachment, because what they're looking for, the May so and so particular year to, they're looking for 5 years track record. And if those numbers match up, then you're selected. So it's just much easier for the ATS or the tracking system to filter that way. Any other questions?
Oh, you had another one?
Oh no, I just said I got it. Understood. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. One other question I had, and this might vary maybe in different parts of the world, but is it ever appropriate to include a photo in a resume?
Yeah, I was just going to come to that. One of the things that I've seen a lot of people do that. It's a social trend nowadays to have a kind of a video resume, also they call it. Somebody uses
Even LinkedIn also gives, has
yeah,
a
yeah.
picture.
So it's a novelty. I mean, it's like Bitcoin. It's there. People are trying it. I don't know if it's going to be the norm now or not.
And
But
Bitcoin's $55,000 now. That's a novelty for
as
it.
I said, it could become hot cake in future. You never know. But just to give you an idea, for last 50 years, if you go back 30 years, maybe, if your memory, you're young people, I'm 50. So I'm just letting you know that if you look at 20, 30 years back, and you pick up a card of a realtor, real estate person, you see a photo there.
Mm-hmm.
Even still today, they use that. It's worked with their industry, right? But if I put a photo on my card and I pass it on, I mean, I don't think that's the norm in my, consulting or my business environment where I do that. So it all depends on where you're applying, what you're doing. especially in universities and all that, they're trying to see how a person is smart and all that. I think they're encouraging maybe, you know, those kind of maybe social media skills. If you're applying for a maybe PR or media for you know, job role, sure, definitely that will be a plus with you. So it would be kind of, you know, I mean, I personally not used that, but I've seen a couple of resumes with, you're right. So
Okay.
I cannot comment too much on that. Other than that, it's there.
Yeah,
But
it makes
I mean,
sense. I've heard it varies, and I think depending on the industry, like the sales industry, it's much more common, and or the
yeah,
acting industry,
yeah,
um,
yes,
not so much everywhere else. I've also heard that sometimes it puts HR in a tough position. I mean, granted, if your
yeah,
headshot's on your LinkedIn and they look you up on LinkedIn, either way, they're probably going to know. But I have been told that from time to time they're nervous about it because they don't
yes,
want anything that could possibly cause them to be
exactly.
accused of discrimination.
I agree with that. And actually, coming back to your to clarify, I think like state of Georgia and other places where they have the statewide ATS systems and all, where you can apply for state jobs, they don't allow this kind of photos and all that, because then it could be discrimination. You know, if your skin tone is different and you're rejected, you can sue them tomorrow that, hey, somebody kind of. I mean, it's just going on the other side. So it's avoidable to. You want to be, your idea is to get the interview or get through the door, nothing more than that. The resume, that's the only purpose of it. It's like a ticket to the, to go and watch a movie. That's all. The only the person who's actually screening and checking the number, or the screen, is it today's show time is what it is, and he'll give you back the ticket. That's it. That's the role is done. After that, the resume only plays the role when the time of interview again, when it happens.
That makes sense. Thank you very
So,
much. And I think that concludes the majority of our questions regarding the resume, unless anybody else has any.
May I ask two questions I have?
Sure.
So I see sometimes some people have like and at the top of resume, like a few sentences, short paragraph description. So is it good to have that or not?
yes, there is a specific. It used to be a very summary, they call it, or objective they call it, but again, it depends from company to company. Small to medium sized companies don't have an issue with that. Big companies, hey, we know you're applying for an engineering job. You don't have to repeat that. It's called real estate on the first page, is what they call it. The value of each word, and you have only X number of items that you can highlight or showcase on the first page, which is actually the showcase. It's like Google. If you're on the first page, you exist. Otherwise, in the you don't exist in the world, according to Google, the way they do search engines and all that. So that's how I'm just trying to give you an analogy here, where you can figure out. I personally write down a couple of lines, not more than that. If I'm applying, or if I tell anybody else to apply, it's fine. But don't repeat that, the same thing that is written in a job description over there. They know you're applying for that particular role and all that in detail. That you can put up maybe in the cover letter or somewhere else under the different heading and all that in your resume. That is going to come out. Yeah, definitely. If you are specifically looking for something to highlight as or you're seeking some specific role, maybe as in my son's case, if you're looking for a design CAD CAM studio, this thing role, he would put that in there. A mechanical engineer looking for design, production, industrial design, whatever. That makes it a little bit more authentic and more precise. That if it's some other role, he might not be interested.
Okay, thank you for that. And my second question is for work experience. If so, basically, how is it better to have bullet points, like for every work experience having like bullet points, or a small paragraph just describing your experience, every experience?
You're talking about the number of years you're talking about, or you're talking about the format, about the way
the format? Yeah, the format.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so again, as I said, they call it real estate in the first page. So if you want to put in to get the number of, maybe suppose you have like 15 or 20 years, I'm just saying, generally, maybe 10 years experience, and you have worked to 2 years or 3 years. So it will take up a lot of space to write all that detail down. So you could write down the title, the role that you did with the date here, and or wherever it fits in. The format is a little different in different industries. You follow your format, you can Google it, and a lot of formats are out there. But you'll be knowing more about it. You can go to LinkedIn and look at other people's resumes and all that. That's also a very good source to look at people's resume. They normally put their resumes on LinkedIn nowadays in the profiles. So get an idea, look at the trends going on. Sometimes the content remains the same, the format changes. Sometimes it's here, sometimes it's there. Just play around with that. Left centering, center centering, and all that, God knows what not. People like to keep on coming up with different variation. That's fine. But if you don't have space enough, then definitely bullet points would be good enough to write down. But at least write a couple of lines below each job that you did. Don't just write down 1 year here, or like I've done 5 jobs. I would not say just a bullet point and write down the work you did here. I would like to see, or the person who's hiring would like to see a little bit more about detail about the job. Maybe 2 lines is good enough. That could be either in form of bullet points, the role and responsibility that you did under that heading for that role. That would be, I think, it suffices as a bullet point. In fact, it's a good way. And if it looks neat and presentable, it's good.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
I have one last question, and I think we'll probably want to move on. But
Yeah.
regarding the items that you write on the resume, I've been told that it's good to write sort of results or impact-oriented statements, meaning that, if you improve sales by 50%, you would say that rather than just saying like, led a sales team or something like that, Is that essential, or is that just nice to have?
As you rightly said, I think you answered in the question itself. If it's a sales job, you're expected to give figures and numbers. And if it's suppose you're doing quality assurance, or you're in the efficiency, improvement business, or applying under project management or Six Sigma or somewhere where it's related to efficiency and improvement of production. There, if you say I showed improvement of from 10% to 200%, or something like that, there definitely it is it will be definitely giving you a cherry on the top, basically. So you stand out better. And salespeople normally, they expected to give some figures or something, definitely. But it's not a must. It's not a must. It's not. Yeah, again, what could happen is, just to give you an idea to answer your question, a figure for me in a small business might be a big number, but if I'm applying to Coca-Cola, if I say I did a $2 million sale, they say, oh boy, that's like chicken feed for us, So for them, it's like billions of dollars or multi-million dollar deals, or which country you're doing and whatnot. So it's relative. So to show the difference, I bumped the sales from 100,000 to 1,000,000. Yes, that's a kind of a scale where you need comparison. So just to answer that specific question. So I handled sales of 10 million. How much were it before? Was it 15 million that you brought it down to 10, or was it like 1 million you brought it up to 10? That will give you your particular, skill set that you've done a good job.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on. We can take more questions. I'm open to that. I'm just kind of, moving on so that everybody's on schedule.
Yeah, I had a question. Sorry.
Sure. Go ahead.
So as one person gets older, is it better to use the functional one instead of the chronological resume?
What I have heard and seen also in the industry is that if it's like, in case like I'm 50 now plus, so I've got 25, 30 years experience behind me. So the last 10 to 15 years is relevant. So if you can, if you don't even mention, or you just write a bullet point, as somebody, I think Anna asked earlier about bullet points. So first 4 or 5 descriptions, or 10 years, you can give a little bit, 1 or 2 paragraphs, a line, or 1 or 2 lines. And the next ones, if you want to give a continuation of 20 years back, you can write those in bullet points or avoid it. I've also, seen people just write the 10 or 15 years. Sometimes they say that in a way it's from the HR angle, that you cannot discriminate on age. There is a rule over there that somebody can sue you on that. That I was rejected on that. So that's why person who's a little senior doesn't want to apply and show 20 years of experience. It makes sense in that you look younger. You know what I'm saying? To get you at least through the door. Your purpose of the resume is just to get you through the door. The hiring manager might not be interested, in bothering about whether it's a young person or an old person. It might be the HR person. Oh, no, he's an old person. We're looking for young guys. I mean, if you're looking for somebody with 20 years experience, then you need to support a person with 20 years experience. You can't help it. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to this ATS system. I'll go briefly. I think I've already talked about it and overlapped in my recruiting side talk that I talked in the earlier slide before. So ATS system nowadays also incorporates, video interviewing. It's more or less kind of a automated system where they do all that screening and help set up the video interviews and all that. So this is more like a help and assistant to the recruiter or to the hiring manager. It does the candidate assessment again, as I told you earlier about, they kind of just compile and do the main phrase work and matching and all that, whether it's a suitable position or not, whether they have the basic skills requirements and all that. Again, for ATS system has to gather all the resumes or try to pick up good matches from different sources. So there could be social recruiting websites, online talent networks, personalized messages which has gone out. Maybe you get an email from a company, hey Sam. So it's not, nobody's writing that down, it's all the ATS does it for you. So again, targeting LinkedIn auto and passive and active candidates and all that, those also are done by the ATS, where they kind of go and look into your background. I had done something way back, maybe some finance role I had done 15 years back. I still keep getting, because it was there in my LinkedIn some years back and I removed it from my profile. I still keep getting replies from some company. Are you still interested in this? I mean, I don't have anything to do with that finance role, which I did 15 years back, but still I keep getting it because it's somewhere in the system. I don't know how it is. So just to give you an idea, they do the background back end search, in the it's behind the curtain, as you might call it, just to give you a better idea. Okay, the better shot, I would say, if it is an ATS system also, or trying to get a job. Ultimately, the whole purpose of this talk is to get a job. I'll tell you a little bit of insight that hiring companies, HR companies, or the company that is you're working or going to work with, the biggest preference is given to employee referral. So if you know somebody, you have a 60 to 70% better chance of getting an interview call. Because why? I have spent, as a company, 2 or 3 months searching for somebody to come and apply, do the process, give you the, I paid somebody, some company to either, screen the candidates, spend a lot of time, then I train you. Then I again, I've invested in you, as they call it. There's an investment from the company side on that employee to get him up to speed to start and producing the way they wanted, his efficiency and results that they're looking for. if you're somebody they don't know, or if somebody who's just been picked up from the different resumes, they're taking a shot and a gamble in a way. But if it's an employee referral, one, the employee's referral, who's referring you as a friend or somebody as a colleague or some other XYZ, has a personal stake there. So there is a kind of weightage now that the company has, this person is not going to, just fib anybody's resume and, come and waste everybody's time, or that person who's hired will not leave the job, if not anything, just for the sake that his friend's reputation might be at risk for, not doing the right justice to the job that he applied to, or leave within a month or something. Now, it happens in IT. We had seen it when it was a hot, suppose a hot skill requirement, and the market is shortage. There's a shortage in the market of candidates or the specifics. See, let's say for cybersecurity just now, network security, these kind of roles, you keep getting every second or third day some recruiter will be approaching you. He'll be giving you bigger bucks or something. So if you have a job and you want to leave the job, jump to some other place in 15 days, 1 or 2 months, the company has to fall back. It's already lost. Then again, somebody has to pick up from where they left and redo the whole thing. So there is a lot of cost, hidden cost behind. That is why. So employee referral is preferred. Also, one secret is employee gets many people might know it, who have referred other friends. You get a bonus. And the employee who's actually referring somebody as a friend, he also gets a bonus. So basically you are, an incentive is there. That is, if you see the bonus, why are they giving you a bonus? The reason is because you are helping them and shortening the process of recruiting a person. So that's one of the incentives. I would say if you can find, maybe go through LinkedIn, it's a third or second connection, not very friendly to you, but you just exchange birthday greetings and say hi, hello once a year. That's fine too. That's also going towards the referral. So use that connections and opportunities. Connections, I cannot say how important, how less people use that. It is the most important to use networking. Nowadays, of course, with COVID, you can't go to physical networks too much, but which will change in a couple of months. Networking is the key, I would say, and employee referrals. Many people nowadays on LinkedIn and other places have started writing their headers. Like you see, my header would be, mentor, coach, or whatever. They'll write on open for new positions under the name. So that's a very good, LinkedIn has become a very major recruiting tool now. So just to give you an idea, that you have to advertise yourself. What are you doing actually when you're applying in the resume and what is, you are selling yourself. You are the product. You are promoting yourself. Think it from that angle. Then you'll be able to, come up with a more better message that, hey, I need to really make this an attractive package. Now, if you were going to buy a new pair of shoes or something in the market, you want an attractive package, nice colors, nicely packed and all, exactly the same way. So you have to package yourself, present yourself in a nice, presentable way that somebody will, at least give a glance at you. Even if you're doing window shopping, look at you. So that's the idea of just conveying something. Okay, so there's a trend now going towards mobile platforms, that is, including smartphones. A lot of companies are doing apps and all that, and under which you can apply to hasten the process for applying and all. Especially with this, maybe something comes to mind, which is Uber kind of category, gig economy, they call it, where people don't have access, or they're on the road, or they don't have access 24/7 to internet or something, or they don't have a sitting job, a desk place where to. So those kind of employees, everybody has a cell phone now. So it is definitely a plus to have a app, where, or a resume which would actually be compliant or good enough to be pasted or sent or some kind of a shorter version to put it on a mobile platform to apply to be faster. As I think I mentioned it earlier also when I was talking about the resume part about the enterprise level ATS systems, as General Motors, Ford, all these Coca-Cola, all these big companies have their own customized inbuilt HR, and normally it's incorporated into the ERP, because ATS system is one part and the recruiting and tracking applicant system is a bigger part. Under that, again, it goes into the HR, and the HR is connected to the ERP. So enterprise resource, so the whole system there. So that's how it is. For a bigger company, they can afford it because it costs millions of dollars just to buy a software or have a customized one. And it pays for it if you have thousands of employees. The other high volume recruiting and contract 1099 is normally, I would say, recruiting and staffing agencies. That's where I was talking to you about. They have no clue as to what kind of technical requirements they are. They're just doing a word match or a phrase match, and they are more into like how they have the telemarketing. The same way the quota is given to the recruiter, you have to get so many resumes per day, and you have to screen and apply so many resumes to the job portal that they are supposed to handle, or each one is given us. So it's like a sales job over there. They have targets that they need to meet. It's a very high volume. Recruiting, if you can build up a rapport with the recruiting or agency or the staff person there, great. If you've taken a job through them once, definitely follow up with them, because they know you as a candidate, you perform, you have earned money to their company. So you are valuable. Next time they know you're a person who can who's going to bring them more bucks. So definitely go back to the recruiting company, or even if you're looking for something, you can post it back to them. Hey, you know what? My next project is coming up due in the next month. Keep looking for me. Keep looking for this particular. Be a little bit more interactive, a month or 2 months in advance before your next project comes up to, date is for renewal or whatever you want to call it. Small companies, maybe less than 100 people, they normally they can't afford, or they don't have their own in-base house customized ATS systems or recruiting systems, recruiter tracking system they call it. So basically they use SaaS based nowadays, which is very common and it's very cheap. Also, there are some companies which give them a free ATS limited version. You can only get database for only compiling the resumes and all that. Functions are limited. I think this is more or less the ATS. Any questions you have? I can move on to the next one.
I've got a couple real quick.
Sure.
I know that I think maybe Anna mentioned about particular formats that work well with ATS. And I guess specifically, there's some tools out there like Zeddy it allows you to make a more graphically pleasing resume.
Mhm.
And versus just doing it in Microsoft Word. And I'm just curious if a graphically pleasing resume is superior to like a normal one, or could it cause an issue with the ATS systems?
Good question. So there are certain conservative, play it safe, rules that we would like to report out there, so that people, you have as you said, if you're applying through a Mac or applying through Windows, we might see the Word doc come up, but slightly different when the bullet points are in a different place, or the headers or the bullets where it is supposed to be either a square, something else happens with that. So that's the key. You just what you mentioned, Brandon, is something on those lines, that it's better to be a little cautious if it's a job that you're applying to, because ultimately, your purpose of the resume is just to get you to the door. So being fancy about it, or hey, it looks good to me, I'll put a flower here, or they make a design here, good for you. I mean, it's not going to make any effect to the resume, to the if the content is there, if you have that experience, you'll have the equal weightage according to me. So yeah, definitely, if you can make it a little, I would say soft skills are more important. And the next line over here, the cover letter is where it comes into how you communicate. That is what your soft skills are. Nowadays, hiring gives a more weightage now, the 30-40% weightage on soft skills, because
Okay.
everybody has the same resume. As I said, out of 500 resumes, 5 had been selected or 10 had been selected. So they all have the same requirements that they're looking for. Now, how do we differentiate? Who is going to work better in the teamwork? Who's able to communicate with the leadership, better? Who's able to have a good rapport with the project manager, give timely reports, presentable. I don't have to make, spell check their reports that they send back to me, and then I have to forward it to the higher authority. No, if you have the good skills, you do my job easier as a project manager. So basically, that's how that is a very key component here. How important is the cover letter? In ATS systems, is the relevancy has gone down, to be honest, because unless they say cover letter, it's more like a formality. In at least in bigger companies. Smaller companies, yes, it might have a little bit weightage, because again, make it just 1 or 2 paragraphs, few lines, and just the kind of highlight the specific one is the role that you're applying for, or whatever you want to highlight over there as your special matching skill under that relevancy. And also a little bit, if you want to write down that you achieved a kind of award, or something was given, maybe outstanding employee of the month or year, or whatever you want to write down, that might be okay to write down in the cover letter. Definitely do the spelling and the grammar check, make it short. Also, there is action words that could help you, as I think you were talking about sales numbers and all that. That's where you can improve the efficiency 500% or 200% of some department, or increase the sales by 50%. That those words might be good enough, but that's not going to actually get you the job. It's just going to be helpful for the screening process, for getting you through the door. So that's the purpose of this cover letter. I used to give weightage to cover letters before. There was a definitely advantage to it earlier. Nowadays, weightage has gone down of the cover letter. But yeah, if you do a cover letter and send it, it's not a negative thing. It's definitely a positive thing. But don't have to fret over it. You know what I'm saying? That it's not become too much of an issue nowadays.
Is it ever good to customize the cover letter to give compliments to the company that you're writing to?
Uh, I mean, that is more or less expected, that you be applying for a job. So you try to be very polite and nice to them, charming. I understand that. But again, they are looking for something that they would have expected, that you have gone to the website, you have checked the company, you have checked the background. So those wordings are, it's more like, trying to appease somebody by saying those nice words. But unless it's a referral that, hey, so and so has referred me to apply to this job, as per the request of so and so, I'm applying, that is a relevant, yes, definitely. He's a good friend, he's a good colleague, or I work with him in this department, and that kind of wording is okay. Beyond that, I would not try to be make it more personal, or try to be more uh, about the company or something.
Okay. And I guess one follow-up question. I mean, you could almost call it LinkedIn stalking, but if a person were to hunt down someone that you didn't know who worked at the company, basically to try and find an in with the company, um, I guess, how do you go about that? Do you recommend it or not recommend it?
uh that See, the whole purpose of recruiting, headhunter, they used to call it, headhunters. If
Mhm.
you remember that term, nowadays they don't use that term very often. You don't hear that. It's more like a recruiting and staffing company. those were the people, they were like their expertise, that their you know, their, what do you say, their selling point was that I can get a purple squirrel, we call it. Somebody is not available in the market openly, you don't see it, you have to go and hunt behind the scene. So that's exactly what you're talking about, I think, you know, from that angle, that you have to make inroads. So for that, there are ways around. I also used those, you know, techniques earlier of not actually stalking somebody, but finding, you know, the difficult candidate. I had the most difficult candidate I remember many years back, not even recent memory, was almost like a rocket scientist. We needed a PhD or double PhD kind of person for General Motors when they had started making the Volt, VOLT, electric power, you know,
Oh yes, Chevy
battery.
Volt.
Yes. So they wanted somebody who had expertise in designing those batteries. I'm talking about way back, almost a decade back. Okay.
Hmm.
So there, I mean, the process of a car designing starts 15, 20 years back, and then you see the production, you know, roll out after, like, now it's shortened down to 5 to 10 years. It used to be longer before. So that time they were looking for somebody who actually could make those batteries. So he was explaining to me, I've got a little bit of science background. So the electron has to pass through this, you know, the person, the project manager who was explaining to me. It was for me also difficult to understand. So many microns, it has to go to the mesh, and the electron has to pass there. I said, you know what? I'll look for the person, and I was able to get it. It was a very, very tough job. Description. We found somebody after a lot of, you know, going through pillar to post. You referred, Brandon referred, Cal referred, Anna referred, Tim, that way. You know, I found somebody through that kind of chain of events.
I guess as a job seeker, though, if they essentially hunted and found an employee within the company, is that a possibly effective way to get an employee referral?
See, from a recruiting company angle, I've done the excellent job that I found somebody, you know, as who's not actually a active job seeker.
Hmm.
You might call it poaching from the company's angle, but from the other company, yeah, wow, you got a gem for me, you know. So
Yeah.
you have to say which side are you looking at from.
I mean, I
It's not,
guess
yeah,
I,
it's not illegal nowadays, you know. And there is even this Google and Facebook and all that. They had a pact out there in what is that, in Silicon Valley, they would not be poaching on each other's. Now the government came out that it's almost slavery. You can't do that, right? You can confine somebody to only one company, that you cannot go and work in the competitors.
yeah.
So so that's how it is viewed in a different manner, in different settings that you look at it from.
Okay.
Okay, so I think I'll give a break now for 5 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and we can come back to the next topic. Okay, before that, I just let me want to, you know, kind of brush up with the job seeking websites and search engines which are popular. Most of you are aware with this. Before I switch off for the 5 minute break, uh, where I think I don't need to repeat that, but I've just written it down for people in case they want to, you know, look at different options. They might be out of 10, they might not have seen one, or they might know more than me. That's fine. Website and social media, of course, is the number one place. Indeed.com has become a very popular mother engine because it picks up from all the career builder and Monster and all that. So you can only go to one place. But again, it's not the place to go to only. You definitely need to don't put all your eggs in one basket, and, you know, do all the possible web searches that you can. Career builder, again, is more specific to IT and tech kind of roles. Dice also comes in that category. Also, they have roles for healthcare professionals and all that nowadays. Pharmaceutical companies also are pretty much. Monster, of course, is one of the bigger engines, and Monster owns LinkedIn nowadays. You know that, right? Microsoft. So basically, the two biggest are LinkedIn as a recruiting tool. I would say as the number one place where, you know, people are always searching as, okay, have you checked LinkedIn out? That's what they would tell you. ZipRecruiter also is one of those smaller search engines which does a motherboard kind of thing. It picks up, but ZipRecruiter, I've also seen that, and I've heard from people also that they have older and resumes which are, or other positions which are not there anymore, but they still advertise it just to get traction and business, to show that they have these. So you have to go and it's trial and error. You might not have, many people might not have seen this usajobs.gov website, because that's not a normal place that people go to be honest, in private industry actually. And this has got a lot of jobs nowadays. I think the biggest employer in this current scenario of COVID is the federal government. So if you're looking for jobs, maybe the pay scale might be 10%, 15% lower than the market, but they are more stable maybe. There is a longer process involved, but it pays you in the long run, because it's not a very revolving door kind of a job, I would say. So you could check these out. A lot of these, I just talked to somebody last week, and he was saying federal agencies have, USA Jobs is really has got a lot of requirements nowadays, especially if you are in the logistics industry or supply chain management roles. Also, for my son, he was mentioning that if you go to USA Jobs for a mechanical engineer, you might not get it under the mechanical engineer category if you're looking, but they have roles where they want an engineer as a basic qualification. That's a requirement by the government, that you need an engineer. It could be as simple as going and checking construction pipelines and all that, but they require an engineer. So he was telling my son also to go and check this thing out and all that. They don't, just because it says what is a supervisor or quality assurance or whatever job role, go and check the details what it says. If it says engineer, then apply for it. So that's one. 1T online is one of the other sources and places that I have told other few people to go and check it out. This one is a website which has a little bit of a data and research behind the scenes as to if you're applying for a mechanical engineer, maybe what different categories you might not think of, where a mechanical engineer might be required or can apply to these roles. And also they have a salary, they have it's like almost a research kind of a place. It's just good to have information if somebody is interested and wants to find out more. DevX, I don't know how many people have heard of this. This is a more of an international and global jobs search engine. They do mostly international, like WHO, healthcare, all these kind of maybe different country assignments and all that. So if you're looking for something with the global flavor, this might be a website to go to. And of course, these two categories, LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, they're hot cake nowadays. So definitely, just to give yourself an edge, if you want to really promote yourself, it pays good long-term dividends by having, maybe on LinkedIn, you could open a blog, or you can write, some articles or share articles. Whenever I've seen one article that if I share of some particular person who's, kind of a, I would say, a luminary or a celebrity, maybe Apple, Steve Jobs, if I share an article or just any particular 2-line phrases or something written by Steve Jobs earlier, I would get hundreds of views on it. So just to give an idea, try and be a little bit more active and see what kind of articles people look at and check when you post, whether you're getting 50 views or you're getting 500 views, just to figure out, play around with that and have some fun. So that's about it for this particular
I would, Sam, I would like to recommend to add
Sure.
one website to that list,
Yeah, please.
which is angellist.com. Have you heard about that?
No, I think I'm not.
Okay, ANGELLIST.
Okay.
.com and then /careers.
Okay.
Basically, this website is, if you want to find a job with a startup, it's like a site which lists all the startup companies, and then they exclusively post jobs with startups. So very good site for that.
Good to have that. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now you see,
Yeah.
I learned something from you.
Oh no, yeah, it's always information sharing.
No, I that's one of the reasons why I love to mentor, and coach. I learn a lot, especially from the young college kids. I learn too much nowadays. It really gives me updated information. So, okay, I'll give a 5 minute or 5 minute break. We'll come back to the next topic of the day: time management and goal setting. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll see you guys back at 8:21 or so.
Yeah, you can keep your screens on. Don't have to sign off, but yeah, that's fine. Up to you.
So, anybody who missed
Okay.
anything can always review that.
Sure. So I'll not waste any more time since it's time management and the goal setting. So it's a very broad topic, and I mean it's a very relevant topic nowadays. Uh, and just to give a little perspective, there's a big umbrella of time management under which it comes to when you're talking about it. It could be work-life balance, as they call it, or it could be time management of the specific project that you're looking at. It could be time management of your day schedule, of how you plan your day and all that. And goal setting again is a bigger topic too. So normally it requires a detailed, more longer process. We'll try to concise it maybe in the next half an hour as much as we can, give you a little bit of a macro idea about it. But yeah, definitely relevant. Everything nowadays is, especially since New York, where you're based, I think JCI is based out of, and this particular group is from, the value of time. Because bigger metro and mega cities, they have this time, everything runs by the clock. And I also, from my background, come from a mega city when I grew up. So that's exactly, I'm tuned to that robotic clock. Basically, I have to catch this train to get this through this connection. If I miss this train, I miss the next connection, that kind of stuff. And it gets into your system, which is good for you. And sometimes in the work-life balance, it kind of creates a little bit of imbalance because you're stressed out many times because you're always under that stress. It has, I would say the positive points outweigh the negative in my view. So that's good enough. Let's come back to the importance of time management. So, I mean, since this is again, if anybody has any particular questions, we'll be going on each topic for maybe a few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes for each bullet line that I have here. And if you have a question or something we think that's important over there, you can ask me, or we'll move on, and then at the end again we'll have a question answer session, if that's okay with the way we're planning, and if it's done within the time frame. So the importance of time management. Cannot emphasize the value it has on your health, directly related to your health. If you don't have time management, there is, again, I was just talking about, as I mentioned earlier, there's a level of stress which gets involved, that you're always running and trying to catch up on the next assignment or next things. So you need to plan it. And you have to also plan not only that part, but you have to plan some certain emergencies that if, okay, so just to give you a starting point, I sit down in the beginning of the day or my things to do list I make. I write down 10 or 5, whatever particular important things I need to do. That's good. But my boss or something happens or some customer of mine, if I'm in the sales side or something, this is urgent, some delivery got screwed up or something happened, you have to leave everything and run and put that fire out, which happens more often than you know or you plan for. So you have to even plan that in the schedule or things to do. You have to leave half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever you think is an average time that you can attend to, or at least designate it to somebody to handle it. So that is one of the key things that you need to do, is the importance of time management. First, understand the importance of time management, and then we can go about in detail more about the other aspects about it. Why I'm saying importance of time management? Even if you're doing a simple thing like you've done a task and you're saying, okay, now I'm going to, focus on this. I'll require half an hour to do this particular. I'm just making suppose making a PowerPoint maybe. Uh, in case you get a phone call, in case you get a somebody call distracts you, or you get an email and all that in the middle, you look at that and it's an important one. Uh, your tendency is to pick that up phone call, or you want to go back and reply to that email urgently. Think for a minute before you do that. Can it wait for half an hour or not? Let me finish the project or the thing that I'm doing on hand. A simple, just a pause instead of picking up the phone or replying to that email urgently. Can you wait for finishing the particular task that you're doing for half an hour, 1 hour, or not? Why? I'll tell you. If you give a pause and look at that, if suppose we were talking now and the door opens, uh, somebody comes in, maybe it's the office you're sitting in, door opens and somebody calls, he asks you a question, hey, you know what, this FedEx guy is here, he has to go and whatnot. So I look up and I kind of distract myself. Then I come back to that, I answer the question whatever that particular had. That person could have taken their own decision, but they chose to come to me for no reason. I don't know why. Maybe I'm not designated in my proper way that they could handle this part earlier without asking me or consulting me. That's one of my also uh, this thing. I should have done a better job of delegating stuff. From my angle about role play, why, what happens when I look up, I start thinking and talking to him for a few seconds. It's just a 2-minute break I took, but my thought process of making that PowerPoint presentation or presentation or something, whatever I was doing the project, I have to start again focusing on that. So actually I have to spend 10 minutes to come back to the same zone or the same level of concentration and focus I was doing earlier. So it's not a 1-minute break, it becomes a 10-minute break in your focus and concentration. That's why I say the importance of time management. If you can keep at it, okay, you know what, I saw this email, is important, I'll reply to it within half an hour. Good. Your efficiency will increase 50%, I'm telling you. You not realize it, you can do it in small steps and increments, but stop just for a second. Maybe if it's a Facebook or a WhatsApp or God knows whatever, nowadays we have so many distractions, Twitter. Don't look at it, don't pick it up for half an hour, 1 hour. Do that. And after half an hour, 1 hour, whenever your distinct break is, maybe 2-hour break, whatever you do whatever you have to reply to them. Nobody's, if it was so urgent, that person would have rung you up, or he would have contacted you in some key emergency way if it was that urgent. The reason that is sent an email or something as soon as you're able to reply back. It doesn't mean that you have to drop everything which is more important to you. How do you address a boss coming and telling you he's given you 2, 3 projects? Hey, this is more important. This is you got to do this job. You're already doing 2 jobs for him, 2 projects or 2 presentations, whatever want to call it. You're working on that. He comes and give you a third one. Get this done today. So how do you address that? That's a question. I'm just thinking, giving a pause so that you can think about it. There is a way, answer it in the way that you can answer politely and say, I have 2 assignments going on. Is this more important than the third one that you're giving me, or should it wait for me to get it done after that? So now the boss has to decide on your behalf which is the priority to be done. Now you're putting the ball in his court. You see? So he knows that you're busy, you're working hard, you're doing 2 projects. This is the third one. So you have conveyed all the necessary tools and this thing that, hey, you know what? Is this the one? I don't mind. You are the boss. You tell me, I'll drop the other 2 and I'll give this a priority. So now he has to decide, no, okay, it's not that urgent. You can do it after 2 hours, by the end of the day, whatever. So you get an answer from him rather than you deciding whether this is important. If I don't do this, and you keep thinking in the back of your mind, having stress, he told me this is urgent. Hello, I don't know. You got to clarify those points. So that is how you can have this particular thing sorted out. Hey, which is more important? That comes with priority setting also. When you go back to, we'll come to that topic right now. So fighting fire, I just explained to you earlier about keeping a time frame for something urgent. As the boss, as I just mentioned, he walks in and says, I want this particular job to be done faster. Okay. Or a customer has some issues and you have to drop everything and address those plans. Or maybe a software glitch or something happened, you have to kind of go and service that. You can't do anything without finish addressing that. So you have to move the stuff. Maybe I was supposed to do it between 9 and 10. I was going to do this time. But if you have a 1 hour window or half an hour window I've kept for firefighting, I can move that up and bring this down. I can start this at 10 o'clock. You can adjust that. You have the leverage and you have that space. You have to do the time planning. Okay, so the list of importance. Yes. This is also people, when they sit down to do the list of 10 things to do, they normally start with the first one that they wrote now. I would rather now give them numbers and say, what, this is to be done. This is number 2. Maybe I got the idea, okay, I need to do this, and I wrote it down number 8. But still, I would give it a number next to that this has to be done as the number 3 priority. Sometimes you cannot do all 10 items together. I mean, in the whole day, that's fine. Whatever you have to do is you should put it on the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there is something that can be delayed and it's not something that is going to, hinder your goals that you have to do or the company's policy, you can leave it for tomorrow or do it later on. Maybe, maybe work from home and they allow you to do that. You're going to spend some more time and think about it, get some more input you're waiting for, which you didn't get, more research, that's fine. So you have to make it a list of importance according to that. And 4 or 5 things that you need to get done, you have to finish those and then think about the next ones. Okay, I can do this in the next, once I've done this 4 or 5 earlier. If you try to do 4 or 5 things parallelly, I'm doing this for half an hour, this for half an hour, 1 hour, it's not going to work. You are wasting time because you're not doing justice to anything. So it's better to focus time. Yes, if it's a long thing and it's going to require X number of hours, you're going to divide it in a number of days, that's fine. Then stick to that time frame. And you're going to spend 2 hours doing this presentation and then it is due on Friday. and it's Monday today, I'm going to spend two hours, every day. That's fine. You can plan it that way. The next one is distraction and its cost. I just told you about if somebody opens the door and you answer 1 minute versus 10 minutes. You think it's 1 minute distraction. If it is not, it is going to cost you around 10 minutes of your time. And every few minutes, or maybe say 5 times, or 10 times, you get distracted due to phone or WhatsApp or email or somebody knocking on, giving you some assignment. It's almost cost you an hour or two in the whole day extra that you're working on, which you're not planned. You're not getting paid for it. So it's all your time frame and time and money that you're spending on that. The last is the time. And Warren Buffett, I remember one of his interviews that I saw, I think it's on YouTube or somewhere, maybe LinkedIn, I saw that somebody had shared it, was he was asked a question. You are the richest man in the world. You can buy anything. He says, no, there is one thing I cannot buy. I can buy anything in the world but time. So you see the value of time from the richest person in the world. He says time is equal to money. I can, if he wants to live another 50 years, he cannot do that because ultimately lifespan is limited, right, on this planet. So there is a limited time that anybody can afford to spend on something. So those are the major and macro points over here to discuss. I would say goal setting that was for the time management. Goal setting comes under a bigger umbrella, and that is it has two aspects to it. One is what is your life goals, and the other is career goals. You have to have some kind of a correlation because people do get too career oriented sometimes, and sometimes they spend too much time focusing only on the family angle and from the emotional angle, that they neglect their careers. I think there's a lot of remorse, especially in some cultures where they say, I did my higher studies, and then I got married, and I was not allowed to, my husband expected me to, or wife expected me to keep looking after the house and the kids after getting married, and I had to sacrifice my career. So there is a guilt, or kind of a shame that they carry within their mind, that I'm not doing justice to what I learned, what my degree and my capabilities were, which again, it's an individual thing that I cannot comment on. But again, just to highlight it, goal setting is definitely one of the things that you need to do, and goals keep changing. My goal, maybe 10, 20 years would be, if I become a millionaire, I'm set. Now it's 10 million. A millionaire buys nothing nowadays, right? 10 million would be okay, I'm decent. After 10 years, 10 million buys me nothing. Now I have to have at least 50 million, so it keeps on moving. So the goals are not permanent and fixed, what you think about and start. It is a moving goal post, as we call it. You achieve something and it keeps moving further. You got a new luxury car, good. The next time you want the electrical luxury cars, it kind of keep on going up and up, and that's a good thing. That's how you get motivated, and you achieve and become. It's called ambition. That's good. It's not, you can use it in a positive light too. So my way of giving a little bit of an intro toward goal setting is that you have to have a balance. Again, that work-life balance thing comes into. Give you a scenario in your mind. If you think about it, you're driving a car. Car has 4 wheels, right? If one of the wheels has a puncture or low pressure in the tire, how is the car going to go? It's not going to go at full speed, first of all. And either it slows down, it kind of comes to a dead end, or it kind of veers too much, is pulled to the side where the car tire is low, right? that is exactly what happens in your lifestyle. So if you have a lifestyle which is your personal life and your business life, if they're not balanced together, also your family life and your personal life, that is me time, vacation as they call it, if these four are not in sync, then your car is not going to be going, your life is going to go a zigzag or whatever way you want to call it. Just to give you an idea, and just to give you create a picture in your mind as to how important keeping a little bit of a balance it is. Maybe you decide, okay, I'm going to be a tractor, I'll have big career wheels behind and small family in front. That's fine. That's up to you, the way you design your vehicle of success. Okay. So I'm leaving it to open to some questions now if you want to ask me a little bit more, because again, as I said, this is a huge topic. I do workshops and classes on this for many sessions, and again, uh, it cannot be one size fits all for goal setting. Cal's goals would be different, Brandon's would be different, Tim's might be different, Anna's might be different. So each one has to be a little bit more customized in their approach to goal setting. Uh, Also, if there's any other broader question that I can answer on time management and goal setting, go ahead, please.
Um, Sam, I have something that I want to share on this topic.
Mhm.
Recently, I interviewed with a very like a high profile company, and one of the questions on the interview was, other than like the technical side of it, like the technology and how I apply technology and build a solution. Outside of that, the question like they asked me is like, if you have multiple things to do, like you have a platter of things to do, like 20, 30 different things to do, how would you prioritize that? So my answer was that I always like used some type of priority setting, like based on the deadline when it is due, and like the effort, like number of hours it takes, and then also priority level, like something is low priority, high priority. So that's how I try to answer it. And then he introduced me to something called an Eisenhower Matrix.
Yes.
um, so I think which is sort of like prioritizing it, but I think it's the more easier approach, because you're just simplifying that into four quadrants, all that. So I think that was kind of like a new perspective, something that I learned.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. And also, just to give you a little bit add to what you just mentioned, good example you gave. Because ultimately, I take from my experience and we learn from others' experience too. It's good to know that this kind of question was asked to you. I would also add to you, in case the question comes up again in future to you, would be I would prioritize the goals according to the company's long-term goals.
Strategy, okay.
Okay, and set the goals according to the priorities, according to the goals of the company. What does the company want to achieve? So one is a corporate responsibility. Okay, one angle. Coca-Cola, they have a corporate responsibility that they have to fulfill, which is the environment and the demographic, community and all that, and diversity and all. Good to have. And the other goal is to make profit
Mhm.
and have bigger sales. So if you're on sales or you're on marketing side or you're in the production, you're looking at it from that angle. So now if you start sacrificing that priority would be only corporate responsibility as my main focus. Yes, if you are a person who's the vice president or the person who's actually working in the department, yes, environment and all that would be under your category, right? But if you are in the production side, then your goal setting is not on that side, right? Your priority. So you say whatever the company's bottom line focus is on. If it says now Coca-Cola shifting its angle or its focus to healthier drinks, we want to promote, non-sugar drinks. So then you have to answer it in that way that, what, I would set it that currently we are making more money on sugar drinks, but my future is in healthier drinks. So that is how, I would, help you in the sense of giving some guidance about us, or you might have done research on the company definitely before, and the what is their mission, what is their vision. So answer in that kind of terminology, that what is the mission of the company. You already read that, whatever they have statement that normally each company is, they brag about it on their website and all. Our mission is this, our statement. So I would say, okay, if it's a very green company, I would say, my goal setting would be to go after which is environmental friendly projects before I finish the next ones. Just to give an example answer. Okay.
One other question I have, and then I'll let others ask.
Sure.
One thing is goal setting. So what always happens for me, and I guess like most other people, is that when setting the goals, a lot of people set big lofty goals
Yeah.
on paper, but when it really comes to execution, I think those are properly executed in the initial few weeks or something, because goals are usually long term, and then it kind of takes a deep dive, and when it comes to execution, it's not the way they're executed. So how do you manage that?
uh, it is that's one of my in the sense, many ways I would say that's one of the things that I actually love to help people understand as to how to do that. And also I have a kind of a passion for helping people get the goal setting and this in priority clear in their mind. Again, as I said, it's a very long topic. If I talk, it'll be going on for hours. And how to, again, also the second part would be, it would be individualized to Cal and not Brandon so much, particularly his goal setting or goal would be, ideas would be different. So we can't have this conversation right now in too much detail, but yes, you can follow up with me definitely. Any of you is free to follow up, give me a follow-up question. I think my email address should be there. We can share it definitely. Cal would be, I'm open to answering email or LinkedIn. You can approach me. Definitely love to mentor people. Goal setting, again, as I said, would be, it's a very, very, okay, let's say, how do you eat an elephant?
Cut it.
One bite at a time, right? So make it into small. I see Brandon has, I don't know if it's a screen behind or he has a steps or whatever that, is it his house or something in his
Yeah, it's
background?
actually a Zoom background, but that would be a
Okay.
loft if it was my
Yes,
place
so
of
the
residence.
loft. Now you see, Cal, you see the steps there behind? So that's how you create a goal. So if you have $1 million goal that you want to go, you create one step of maybe 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 that way, Each one is a step. Okay. So if you look at 1 million, it is very daunting. Oh my God, I have to earn 1 million. If you look at 100,000, that's all possible. I can do, I can save 100,000, maybe, in this time frame. Yes. Okay. Right.
Okay. Yep.
Once you read that, then you look. Now you already got 100. You only have to make 900 more, right? So you're at least motivated. You have some cushion behind you. When you reach halfway, you say, "Wow, like I'm already halfway there," right?
Yep,
So don't look at the. I know goal setting is, it should be good. It's like you're building a railway from New York to San Francisco. If I think about it, it's like I just, it's not possible in my lifetime, I would say, for one person to do it. Correct? I mean, it's been done. I'm just saying, so you can see the vision of the people who designed this railway and all that centuries ago, right? Couple of centuries maybe back, the railway track and all that. So how did they do about it when they went to the Blue Ridge Mountains and all that? They just, okay, let's do this. Let me just build a 3-mile tunnel. That's all. My focus is there. We look at whatever, the desert comes or the Grand Canyon comes later on. Once we have to do this, only this particular aspect about. Let me read Chicago. Once I reach that place, then I'll look at, connecting to the next place, right?
Yep.
So my goal is broken up into smaller pieces. You see what I'm saying? And then focus on those smaller pieces. So once you achieve that, make it into a smaller chunk. Okay, from New York to Florida, you want to drive, you want New York to, I'm going to take a stop at, Washington, D.C. as my, so my focus is how to go from, on a GPS from New York to DC on that's my 3 hour, 4 hour trip. That's all I'm focusing on. I'm not worried about whether it's snowing or having a rainstorm in Florida. I'm worried what is on the way between New York and Washington, DC. So my GPS, Google will tell me 2, 3 options. Hey, you know what? There's a traffic jam on this particular route. Go and take an alternate, correct? So that's how I would kind of, be more focused on the smaller segments first. And ultimately reach there.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Do you know of any good time management tools online?
Online, I don't have anything online. I have a couple of books that I give out because, in my what happens is I have a workshop one-on-one where it's now because of COVID, we're having it on this particular platform, which also we do. I'm not, it's not alien to us, but these kind of workshops are more assignment oriented that I give them, because something can be taught in an overnight way, but online, let me think about it. I don't have it, but yeah, you can follow up with me, send me an email, and I'll check it out. Maybe, the books and all that I recommend, maybe do they have an online version to do some goal setting and all that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I guess one that I can mention quick, Bob. Well, there's a whole bunch of different things as far as time management. I always use the theory, or the fact that there's only 1,440 minutes in a day. Some people recommend to schedule tasks if there are any significant amount of time. Batch doing emails, like, don't have your email open all day. Maybe just open it like twice a day. And the other thing I tend to use when I really want to focus is the Pomodoro Timer, which is, Pomodoro is tomato in Spanish, of course, but it's basically a concept. And there's a Google extension for Chrome where you can set it's a 25-minute timer. It'll automatically time down, and then it's like a 5-minute break. And the idea is that you sort of force yourself to focus essentially for almost a half an hour, and then you take a quick break and then go again hard for another half an hour. And sometimes after X amount you can have like a long break, but essentially you're forcing yourself to focus, and of course that means basically shutting out other distractions. So that's just a couple things I know, but it's a very deep topic. So
Yeah, good answer question, Brandon. Bob, I would also, say the best time management tool to start off with you, as Brandon suggested now, would be Google Calendar. If you use Google, or, whatever, maybe Microsoft, whatever calendar that you use. And as he rightly said, put it into half an hour, 1 hour segments and do it that way. This will help you a lot. But again, uh, what I understand from, if I'm not mistaken, is you're looking at a bigger time management tool versus a scheduling tool, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking about in general. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this would be a timetable management, or, a class schedule or some kind of schedule where you actually, the day schedule is more important. That would be for the calendars that I'll be recommending. But for some other purposes, the time management tool that you're talking about online, I'll just, as I said, you send me ping me up either LinkedIn or email, and then I'll reply back to you the book I recommend, or I could tell you something which is, more relevant. And also maybe let me just dig out my notes and see where else if anything I can recommend.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. First, Sam, I want to thank you for sharing this time with us, sharing your knowledge. I appreciate it. So second, my question is about also time management. I mean, I work with different clients, different projects, and on top my bosses. So it's like sometimes I have my plan for the day. Like I'm going to do this, my to-do list. But I have sometimes just to take care of so many projects that somebody called me or something happened, something unexpected, and my to-do list is
So I think that's what I was explaining to you earlier. You have to prioritize and let your boss also know. So if there are projects which is clashing with your client and with your bosses too, same time frame, you have to clarify either with the boss that, hey, should I attend the customer's project before or should I do your project? Both are equally important to me. You tell me.
okay. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Some things are like unexpected. So
Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to happen. It's just not that, he has an answer for all the things every time. You also have to take some decisions sometimes. But look at it from an angle that a customer, is he a customer who keeps calling you every time it picks up the phone and tell you something to do, or is it something really, really important that it cannot wait for me to do the project? Again, that's priority setting. So, you have to match your particular, if you're a person who has been given a target or a goal to do this, you have to follow those goals and priorities over your customer. If the customer is not, you're not in a customer relationship. If your boss is the one who's reporting or handling that, then you need to report to the boss's requirements and projects first. At the same time, let him know that the customer is, this is the requirement that he was given. It doesn't happen that you don't tell your boss and the customer reports or complains to the boss that, hey, Ken was actually doing my project and she didn't submit me by reply, and the boss gets angry on you.
okay.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you. Also, I want to ask about the Pomodoro technique. I have heard about it, but I never have really practiced it.
Mm-hmm.
And what you mentioned previously about the time that it takes us to refocus on something. So every 25 minutes we take a break and sorry, we focus and then 5 minutes take a break. It's going to be hard to refocus again, or is actually this technique?
Actually, from the research, then actually there's a lot of research going on all this kind of focus and all this. What they have seen is the learning curve. Okay, this is very much where they did the research in a university or on students and all that. When you're learning means you're absorbing stuff, right? You're going to a classroom and all. So what they learned is the most optimum time. Why they keep a subject or a period of 1 hour, 40 minutes or 35 minutes, so the time frame that they have is because of the efficiency of absorption of your brain, which also means focus and concentration of your brain, that you can focus on something. Correct. So the first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes is when the brain is actually very peak in absorbing stuff of anything that you're doing. Okay. So they kind of condense it and made in half an hour to get you the peak optimal. Now again, if you bring it that short, I'm sure it'll be be missing out 5 to 10, so maybe 10 minutes, 10 minutes. But the thing is that the first 15 minutes is very hard concentration. Good, you're into the zone, and then if you are actually having a little bit of a kind of a time frame that you can extend it to, take another 15-20 minutes, and then take a break would be okay. You don't have to take a break and get up and go somewhere, have coffee or something. Take a break means you can look at your email, you can do something else, and then do the next task so that your mind gets off. gets off that particular focus that you were doing on that project over there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, it's going to take us a little bit while and focus and time to practice it. It's not going to just by saying it. It's not that easy that it happens. So it'll take, but it has to be a conscious decision. I want to give up smoking. I want to reduce it from 10 cigarettes to 5 cigarettes, 5 to 2, 2 to 1. That's how you're going to come down to. It's not I just quit the cigarette and I won't see it tomorrow. It's not going to happen that way. Okay. I mean, as a human being, we are tuned that way. Anybody asks me, hey, Sam, I feel no, I have to answer him. It's just not that I cannot ignore that inborn nature of a human being. It is going to happen that way. You have to train yourself. Okay, so we are at 9 o'clock. Exactly. I think time management is what I'm teaching. So I better be on time right now and stick to my time frame. It's been a real great honor to give a presentation to you all. I hope people got something out of it. And feel free to ping me, send me an email, follow up. Just give a reference because, just to give a kind of connection. Hey, I attended your JCI and this is a follow-up question. Just give me a point of reference to get back to you all. Okay?
Yes, thank you so much. And we really appreciate your expertise. And thanks everyone else for attending and being an active listener.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sam. It's been a great pleasure with your advice and lecture today. And thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been really great. Nice audience, very good questions. I'm very happy and have a nice weekend. Take care.
Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thanks.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.